on? I hope you all are having an amazing week so far. I'm having despite my knee still being all banged up, I am having a pretty good, great week myself. Everybody, for who doesn't know me, I am Super Joe Pardo, and this is the Indie Pod. The Indie Pod I would say conference. No, it's the Indie Pod podcast or Indie Pod show. I haven't decided what I really like the name. And that's one of the beauties. There is no rules, and we could change the name as we go. Anyway, I hope everybody that's if you're watching this live on Facebook, Facebook Live, right in the chat where you're listening from. I'd love to know where everybody's listening from this week. We got started a little bit late, so sorry about that. Me and Lou were just talking about podcasting before we started here, and Disney
just chatting
World.
away.
Yeah, exactly. So I apologize for the delay, but we're here and we have a lot to talk about. So before I go any further, I would love to introduce my guest this week from the Red Road Radio Show, Lou Hastings, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Woo!
Yes.
The delay. How are you doing, Lou?
I'm doing great, Joe. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, you are very, very welcome. I'm so glad that you decided to pop on the calendar there, and especially so early in the process of bringing this show to life. Me coming back to the show after basically 2 years of being away from the show, with the exception of a few live streams that I did. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy that Andre is in the house all the way from Albany, Georgia. And if where are you all listening from? Pop it in the chat there on the Facebook Live, so I can hopefully get it in the chat bar on the side here. Lou, how long have you been podcasting for, man?
So and I only know this because of Facebook memories. So it popped up. It literally popped up the other day, probably a week ago, that my show, the Red Road Radio Show, is celebrating its 5th anniversary.
So today,
last week.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. So, it's kind of a wonky answer, if you will, because technically the show didn't start as a podcast. It started on terrestrial radio. And I guess podcasting as a thing, 2016 is really when I went on the web, if you will, worldwide with the show. So technically the show started 5 years ago, podcasting specifically 2016. So does that count? Does 5 years count?
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it, right? Like, you have the experience, you got the baggage to go along with it. You got the T-shirt that says I've been podcasting for 5 years. So high five for that.
Awesome.
Now, for anyone who doesn't know what the Red Road Radio Show is all about, I love the name, by the way, because of the way it rolls off the tongue. Another R word there. What can listeners expect from your show?
Sure. So it all started. It actually was spawned from my nonprofit organization. So I am the founder of the Native Now Foundation. And basically what we do is promote and support sovereignty and self-determination in Indian country, so in indigenous communities. So from that, it really made sense to create this. I didn't see any indigenous news out there. So the Red Road Radio Show basically puts indigenous news out there into the mainstream, because there isn't any, or there wasn't any when I started it. And then there was interviews and commentary about life and issues in Indian country. So that's essentially what the Red Road Radio Show is. News, interviews, and commentary about things that happen in indigenous communities.
Wow. And so you gave a talk at MapCon 5. I mean, you taught back in 2007 as well. And your talk, a lot of people, I heard a lot of great feedback from your talk based on around the storytelling, and the history that a lot of people, I mean, I know I definitely didn't know all of that. I knew bits and pieces of some of the story that you laid down there. And I remember thinking to myself about halfway through, I was like, how is he going to tie this to podcasting? Because I was like, this is really interesting. I love the history of what he's talking about, but it is a podcasting conference, and not only did you bring the storytelling aspect of it, which helps other people learn about the fact that they need to learn how to be a better storyteller, something that I have struggled with most of my life because I like to include every little detail. Ask my wife, and and something along the lines of and bringing it to like the impact, the impact that you have, on not just for your listeners, but for people who weren't necessarily your listeners prior to that. So can you explain, like, elaborate a little bit on, I guess, finding the impact, right? Like, what impact can you have using this awesome medium that we call podcasting?
Great question. So that was the point, right? The 501c3, the nonprofit organization, was to have that impact on those communities, right? But how was I going to get the word out to those communities that that was our purpose? And it just made sense to fire up the radio show to do that. And the two constantly are bumping into one another. So I can use the Red Road Radio show to get to people and resources that my nonprofit can use to help those same communities. So I think that it's important to use the medium to swing that giant bat, right? To hit something out of the park. Hopefully you're taking enough cuts that you're at least gonna get on base, right? And ultimately you want to hit that home run. And I gotta say, the event last year, and that was what the talk was about, really was a huge. It's almost a mind blowing initiative to be involved in when you really think about it. When you think about the story of how we got there, and the podcast, I tied it in at the end. It all came together through the show.
Yeah, I think that more people need to think about not only the listenership, not only their message, not only their why, but the impact that they're looking for. Because I think a lot of, and I know, I'm certain that you feel this way about feeling self-fulfilled because of that.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And I get private messages all the time where people are telling me either the same thing that you just said. I didn't know that part of the history and why it's important. It's not only important to those communities that we're trying to get the information out for, it impacts us because we get to think, my God, this is happening right now in our worldview, right? But we don't interact with these things every day because it's not in the mainstream media, it's not in our newspapers, it's not in our televisions, and it's really not, especially the East Coast, it's not in our communities. So when we're brought into a whole nother world, we're like, wow, this is going on right around me, and I had no idea. So I like that aspect of it as well.
So when what got you started in doing podcasting and radio? I guess going back to your terrestrial radio days.
I actually, in college, we can go back to college in New York, back in the, how should we say this? The late 1980s, if you will, where I did the news and weather on the college radio station. And I think right there, the bug kind of gets you, right? To sit in front of the microphone and be able to deliver something that people are eager to hear. They want to hear
Mhm.
the news and they want to hear the weather, right? And traffic, of course, but that didn't matter much for the college students. It was always news and weather. And then there was this long period where I didn't do anything in radio, but I did happen to make it to a microphone because I played in a band for a decade, and I was able to perform in clubs all around the tri-state area. So it stays with you, right? That performing aspect of getting in front of people and delivering a message, whether it's songs, whether it's news, whether it's weather, it doesn't matter. And then there was this long drought again. And then when I moved to Florida, I actually took a job as the Chamber of Commerce director down here in Southwest Florida. And in my course of going around and speaking to local businesses, I made it to the local radio station and said, "Hey, you guys aren't a member." We just started talking. And then it popped into my head, I should be interviewing local business owners. So back in 2012 is really when I got back into radio, terrestrial radio in earnest. And it was interviewing local business owners. The show was called Gulf Coast Business Spotlight. And I interviewed business owners from around the Gulf Coast. And, a lot of people will come on the radio and they're like, "I'm really nervous. I don't know how to talk about this. I've never been on the radio before." And I used to tell them, "Don't worry about it. You're going to talk about your business, and nobody knows your business better than you. So all we're
You
going to
would
do is,
hope.
you're right. You and I are going to talk about your business. And hopefully from that, from you being on the radio, you're going to make some, some extra, you're going to gain some extra customers." And that went on for a couple of years. And it sort of ran its course. When you do a local show like that and you sort of hit all of the business owners who are willing to come on. And then I said, I have this idea for this other show. I think this one's run its course. How about we do something with Indigenous news? And the radio station went, nothing like that around here. Absolutely. Let's try it. So that's how it was born, really.
Wow. No, I love that. And so with all that said, like what does podcasting actually mean to you? Like taking that step from away from doing it on the radio to podcasting. Like what does podcasting specifically mean to you?
I think the longevity of podcasting is more impactful than terrestrial radio, especially local radio. Even though a lot of
Mm.
stations these days have streaming, right, where you can go online and listen no matter where you are, you can listen to a radio station, but it's unlikely that you're going to have a widespread audience worldwide for a local station. But in podcasting, you can do all of your own marketing. You can, advertise on Facebook, create a group, Instagram. You've got every piece of the marketing and media aspect at your disposal and your control. So podcasting literally is a worldwide impact or impression. So that's what podcasting means to me. It's a larger or longer reach for sure.
I would totally agree. I mean, the internet's not going away anytime soon. I mean, radio's not going away anytime soon either, but it's consolidated so much that it's to the point where to have local radio stations at all, you're very lucky. And then if you actually listen to them, you're even, they're lucky in that case. But I mean, you're in the, you're in what was it, Norristown?
No, you mean
Like,
where was I?
right? No,
Poconos.
like you're in the Pocono. Okay, sorry. I knew it was in that direction, just
I'm
not.
not there right now.
Oh, you're not right there. Oh, okay.
I'm actually on a tiny island in the Gulf of Mexico right now.
Wow. Okay, that would explain your internet connection.
Oh, is it slow?
Well, it's like very pixelated. Like it comes in, it's like ooh, super clear, and then like like the lines go, like the scan lines go across, and it goes
Ooh.
down in quality. But it's not terrible. Your voice sounds great, so that's what's important. At the very, this is podcasting, right? So So voice is what's that matters the most there. Before we get into any more questions, I got to tell everybody about something that's going on this week only, and that is the Podcasters Kit. It's only $39. There's over 50 people that are involved, and myself included. And even Lou is included, because if you buy that $39 Podcasters Kit, not only are you getting courses from some of the biggest names in podcasting for just $39, you're also getting 4 years of MapCon talks for the virtual tickets. So, and Lou's in two. Well, no, he's in one of them. If he was there in 2018, he would have been included in that one too. But so 2015, 16, 17, 18. So you're getting right now, that's $100 ticket right now. It's 4 years, $100 if you buy it through the indiepodcon.com website. If you go to Podcasters Kit, indiepodcon.com/PK, you can pick up all that plus like 49 other podcasting courses and things of that nature for just $39. It's insane. Dan, you are a madman, and I greatly appreciate it for putting it together. Anyway, let's get back to some questions. I was wondering if anybody watching right now, does anybody watching have any questions for Lou or myself? And I wanted to maybe talk a little bit about next year's Indie PodCon conference. I need to get the name all right myself. Next year's Indie PodCon, and get some of the details that I'm like kind of got swarming around in my mind. I'd love to maybe get some feedback on that. But yeah, if you have any questions for me or for Lou, please drop them in the chat on the Facebook Live. And if not, if you're listening afterwards, take the time, send us an email. Lou, what's your email address for the people?
You can send an email to the show, info@redroadradio.com. Or you can send it to my personal email, Lou Hastings, the number 2 @gmail.com. And any questions that you put in the comments here on this stream, please, by all means, I'll come back and I'll answer them for you, even if you're not watching live.
That would be awesome. You can send any questions you have for me to joe@superjoepardo.com. Lou, what do you love about podcasting?
Gosh, it has really allowed me to meet some pretty fantastic people, from the conferences like MapCon to, I've had press passes because of the podcast to go to places like the Tortuga Music Festival a number of years in a row, and be in the photo pit, write reviews of musical acts. I got a chance to interview the Doobie Brothers a couple of years back. It was awesome, and we talked about the Native Now Foundation. Yeah, absolutely. It's really funny. The great story about the Doobie Brothers was, I have this big giant flag that we created for the nonprofit, and it's got a horse. It was actually drawn and created by someone I knew on the Cheyenne River Reservation, and he created it specifically for the nonprofit and the radio show. So while I was interviewing the guys from the Doobie Brothers, they hadn't gone on and did their set yet. So they saw the flag. They're like, that's really cool. And I went, would you mind taking that up on stage with you? 70,000 people in attendance at this outdoor concert in Fort Lauderdale. And they were like, absolutely. And they not only took it on stage with them, they kept it there for the entire set. It was brilliant. So that's what you can do with podcasting. Those are the things that you get to do. Those are the really cool things, is really meeting people that you wouldn't normally meet. I would have never met you, Joe, and all the great people that I met at MapCon if it wasn't for podcasting.
Well, I would say the same thing. I wouldn't have met you or any of the other great people
Yeah.
if it wasn't for podcasts. I mean, my circle of people, while I had some friends that were international, I never would have had the amount of international friends that I have, not including national, like in America and outside of America, that I have. So I am very endlessly grateful for that, to be able to expand my horizons with the amount of people and the stories and the lessons and the support and the love that has come because of it. So I agree with that sentiment for sure. With that said, what's one thing you hate about podcasting?
This is easy for me. So I always did my show live because the thought of editing a show, it really it ruffles my feathers because I have a day job, right? And there's no way that I can devote that much time. I know I can farm it out, but I think I'm a bit of a control nut where I would want to really have a hand in the editing part, or just the whole production part really frightens me, Joe, to be honest with you. But in addition to that, there's something that really irks me, and I know it shouldn't, because music, has to do with artistry, and people should get paid for their work. But that whole copyright stuff, where it makes it almost impossible to produce a podcast unless you're going for generic music for intros, outros, bumper music, all the things that I took for granted being on terrestrial radio, where we have licenses, we can play anything we want right during the breaks. No go on podcasting, and I think that's a bit frustrating. But other than that, I don't think that there's anything else that. Other than that, Miss Lincoln, how'd you like to play?
That's terrible.
I know it is terrible, but it fits.
Well, so there is somebody, and I'm blanking on the name, who is working on getting like real like a license situation for podcasters to be able to use licensed music, and so that's a thing. I just don't, I'm blanking on the person's name. If you know the person's name, or if you are that person, because you might, I think you are in the group, in the icon Facebook group, which if you aren't in the group, you should totally join the group by going to indiepodcon.com/group. I'm just adding the banner right now. There we go. Bam. Joining us in the podcasting group. And throw the name in the chat if you're listening, because I there's a name I want to say, but I don't want to take the time to go and look up the person to make sure that's the person that I'm thinking of.
That would be huge, Joe. If there was a breakthrough there, or somebody figured out how to do it, or if there was an easier way.
There
my
is.
God,
It's coming. It's coming.
Thank
Like, so
God.
last year at DC Podfest, I was talking with that person. I think Dave Jackson was there, and maybe Chris Kremitzos. I'm not sure who else was sitting at the table. Somebody else was sitting at the table with us, and the person that was talking about it was going on and on about how they were getting ready to sit down with, like, what's that, BMI, Sony BMI,
Mm-hmm.
like to get the licenses, the license situations sorted out, so we could do that. Now, with that said, I mean, you can buy music, right? There's audiojungle.net. So for my video production, I use epidemicsound.com. It's $15 a month, and as long as you owned as long as you had a license, you were paying at the time, the music's yours forever. So, like, whatever you download, it's yours to use in any of your productions. So it's it's very much appreciated, because of the fact that, like, music is expensive. So if you look at like audiojungle.net or any of the other, most of the other ones, right, where you can buy a license, cool, but they all have stipulations of like, well, if you have more than 1 million listeners or viewers, then you have to buy this license, and if you have more than 10 million, then you have to buy this license. And before you know it, it's like, whoa, like, and I don't even know how that, like, how do you know? Like, how do you know what goes viral? Could potentially go viral,
Yep.
or be used in like a TV, network kind of situation later on. Like you just don't know. And I remember when I was getting started podcasting, the first so my intro music, instead of having intro music, I would basically ask my guests like, what's a song that you absolutely love? And I would take like a 10-second clip, and that would become the intro music to that episode. And it took forever, right? Because I'd have to like find the right clip, shorten it so it made sense, and then like fade it out, and then lay it over me like coming into me talking. And it just was like so much more work and effort, and I'm like, this is terrible. And then I remember talking to Brian Salander or Selander. I'm not sure how to say your name, Brian, I'm sorry. And he's like, look, Joe, he's like, the problem with, because at the time he owned a YouTube network, which was like one of the biggest sports non like big four sports networks in the world. They had a couple million subscribers, and he's like, the biggest problem that we have is people like you who make great content. They put it together using licensed music, and then we buy them and put them onto our network, and then have to go painstakingly through every single video and scrub out the music, or if we're lucky enough to actually have the original file, so we can just delete the music and then re-export the file. That's the kind of stuff that like he was going through. So I think it was maybe like 20 episodes in or something. He's like, what if 10 years from now, 5 years from now, you actually do get big, and now it's a problem because all your past episodes have this music in it.
Yeah,
It's not a problem when no one knows, and no one's when you're playing for the
right,
two crickets and your mom, like
right,
that's not a problem because no one's gonna care. But it is when somebody does actually get to that point, if they keep doing it.
right. Hopefully, there is going to be a solution to that. I'm glad to hear that. So if that does come to pass, I'm all over that. In the meantime, I'm very interested in the
Epidemic.
epidemic, and
The music there is really good, really
yeah,
really good.
I want to check into that.
And like I said, for $15 a month, like I mean, I'm not making videos every single. I mean, at one point I was making daily, but even only making them like once a month or so, it's very helpful because they're constantly adding new music to it. But so how do you see where the future of podcasting is heading?
Wow. So I'm interested in the latest, I guess, news that I read in the last week, that Apple is starting to delete some from Apple Podcasts, some shows that either don't have updated content, or I don't know all the specifics of it, and there are hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands that they've already deleted, right? So that was an interesting story. I think that speaks to this still being a very young medium,
Mm-hmm.
and more people every day. It doesn't matter if you are a television personality right now, or if you are on the radio right now. All of your content they're putting into podcasts now because of the popularity of podcasting. So I think it's only going to increase in popularity in the
Mm.
coming years. Um, Unfortunately, with that, there comes those rules and regs, right? That we don't know who's going to create. Where does the regulation come into this Wild West? I mean, there's
Mm.
an argument to be made that already you can't use copyrighted music, but who's going to draw the battle lines for the future of podcasting. So I think that's going to be interesting to see. But I think we're just going to see the medium grow and grow over the next couple of years for sure.
Yeah, I definitely still feel like we are heading to the peak. We are definitely not peaked, and I don't I don't see the peak, like I don't see it ending. And bursting like a bubble, and the reason it being is because people are, look, radio has lasted, hundreds of over hundreds of years, 200 years, 150, no, not 200 years, 100 and what, 125 years, 150 years, something like that. Anyway, a longer than we're going to live, that's for darn sure. And I think that we are, we're in a place where people they want the content, they just didn't know how to get it, and as time has gone on, people have started to figure it out, which is great. I mean, even when I started in 2014, like, most of the people I knew still didn't know what a podcast was, never heard of that term in their life. And that's okay. I did my part and helped educate the people around me, and here we are, just 5.5 years later, and there's still, people don't at least know what it is. They just might not know how to necessarily go about getting it, and that kind of stuff. But I feel like as time marches on, it'll continue to have more dominance. Um, uh, you know, I, I don't think it's going to slow down. I will say this one thing that I wish. One thing that I still listen to terrestrial radio for is, and anyone who knows me knows I listen to sports talk radio, because being from Philly and all that, we have four major sports teams, and I care about said teams. So, and I like hearing about what's going on in the here and the now, that I don't know that a podcast would be able to. I don't want to hear about it after the fact necessarily. I want to hear about it as it's happening, because it's breaking news. There's, live takes, there's people calling in, and there's a conversation that's constantly going on, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know when. I mean, the I guess the way I would get away from it is like internet streaming radio, but like, to me, it's just it's like the same, literally the same thing, just a different way of getting it. The results are the same, just how I'm consuming, getting the content to consume it is different. I click on my radio versus I got to go into the app and find it and click on it.
Agreed. I think as we go forward, we'll have more and more options for consuming podcasts, and the cream always rises to the top, right? So those podcasts that don't cut it or don't have big audiences will stay where they are. They won't grow, and you'll have these big breakout shows, almost like there is now. I mean, there are shows like Dave Jackson's, who, I mean, they have hundreds of downloads. I mean, the people tune in all the time. So, there's a huge future. I think you're right that we have not reached the peak yet. We're probably not even close. But certainly there'll be some breakout hits, if you will. Those podcasts that are just, there'll be podcast superstars out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only thing I could see is maybe like, and we already have cellular networks, so I don't even see why you would need that. But like, what if you could get your podcast delivered through the radio, like in that interface? But like, technically we already have that with phones. So I don't know what the next, I don't know. Like,
Well,
what's the next evolution of that?
You've got Alexa, right?
Yeah, with the flash
you can be
briefings
walking, right? You can just walk right into any room in your house and say, Alexa, play School of Podcasting.
yeah,
Boom,
yeah,
and there it
you
is.
can. Yeah, absolutely. And so that I guess makes it that much easier as we get acclimated to just doing that, or even how Amazon has the Amazon glasses now, or soon, where you can be wearing it on your face, or the Ring, where you can have it right on your ring. I don't know. I mean, I got I got to watch, but I don't know where it ends. I mean, I remember like, and you probably remember this, where there was like fashion shows back in like 2000 showing the wearable PC.
I do remember that. I
and
do.
and how people had like tiny like screens like on the glasses and um
Google
yeah, like
Glass. Remember Google Glass?
yeah, I got to play with one of those because my friends Shane and Laurie, they were part of the like Google development verse and had it. And I remember trying it out and I was like, I guess this is kind of cool, but the price was it just was I guess it was a little too ahead of its time
Hmm.
due to price, availability, adopting it. But like I definitely could see, I think wearable like glass technology, like I think that's got huge implications, especially in like inventory management and things of that nature. Though I don't know, because NFC tags have kind of supplanted that. But the thing is, you got to buy NFC tags, right? And then put them onto the thing versus a barcode is just printed like and it's done. So I don't know. It might by the time it might be like Bluetooth. Remember, Bluetooth was dead on arrival. Like in 2000, they were like, "Oh, here, Bluetooth is finally coming out," and it's like it's already dead. It's already been supplanted, and it's like, and here we are on Bluetooth 5, like 20 years later,
Yeah.
and it's still going, and it's still useful when it works.
Yeah. I use Bluetooth all the time. Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
do a lot of traveling for my day job.
Mm.
So, I'd be
I use
lost without
Bluetooth.
Bluetooth.
I use Bluetooth every day, from
Yeah.
my car to headphones to everything. And
I'd
to
be
me, it was
lost.
never. I never understood that the people that thought that was dead on arrival, because it was literally just getting started with the people with the little, the head earpieces in their ear and. Are they talking to me? Or are they talking to somebody, someone on their Bluetooth? I mean, we saw the same problem with ear pods. So 20
Right.
years later, we still haven't figured it out yet. Um, so before we go into any more questions, Lou, I just wanted to talk a little bit about let's talk about MapCon and MapCon 5 and your experience there and how that worked out for you coming here to Atlantic City, New Jersey.
I thought it was awesome. Having the ability to go to a place that, I mean, it's iconic, right? To go to a conference in Atlantic City and say to people, "Hey, I'm speaking in Atlantic City this weekend." I thought it was great. The hotel was awesome. I didn't stay there at Ocean Resorts. I actually stayed at the Hard Rock, which
Oh,
was
okay.
not even a mile up the boardwalk. So
Yep.
I just, woke up and walked the boardwalk. Fortunately, we had decent weather, except for the hurricane part.
But
Um,
that didn't really affect us.
it
Like it was
didn't. It
gray out, and fortunately, it was late enough. By the time it got up to us, it was
Yeah,
late enough in the day. It didn't affect people driving in. If it had hit on like Thursday, like in that southern region to us, like that could have been disastrous.
yeah. No, I thought it was great. The venue was great. Um, the people in attendance were great. Certainly, after I got to speak, which I had a great spot, Joe, before lunch. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. What a great place to be, right there when people are ready to take lunch, on the Saturday. It's brilliant. But I will tell you, I was even stopped. I couldn't go get to the restroom like after I spoke or get anywhere down the hallway because people were stopping me and asking me questions, which that's what I had hoped. Whenever you speak and tell a story, you're hoping that people will come up to you afterwards and ask you more questions, more in-depth questions, especially when you're constrained with time. And that's
Yep.
exactly what happened. And I got to speak to some people who I had never met before. Maxwell Ivy was, first time I got to meet with him and speak
Hmm.
to him over the weekend. And I think that the connections that you make at these conventions carry on for years. I I've known some people from the first MapCon that I went to in 2017, and Neil Galarte.
Yeah.
He came with me out to North Dakota to document what we did. So all of these things that was from MapCon. That relationship right there was from your event in 2017, and it happened in 2018, and I was able to bring it to the 2019 attendees. So yeah, there's there MapCon's been great, and now
Oh,
Indie
well, thank
PodCon.
you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Were you surprised with the change?
I was very surprised, but I like it. I do. I think it makes sense. At first, when people are always resistant to change, right? So when I saw it, I was like, how do you right in 5 years change a name like that? But I think in the time since the conference, it seems to make sense, right? And all of those little iterations of the name that you're still coming up with, I think they'll all fall into place. And people are already saying icon and IndieCon,
Icons. Hey,
right?
icons. Like, I didn't
Icons,
even, that
right?
like totally, I shout out to Greg Clunas for that, but I totally eluded me that the individuals are icons. Like, that literally makes a lot of sense.
It's awesome.
It is. I don't know how that got past. Because I was always like iconers or hey, but I never said hey, Mapconers, or it was like Mapcon family and Icon family. But there's IPC and Indie PodCon and the Independent Podcast Conference. There's so many different ways to slice it. So I think over the course of the next couple of years, it'll roll out. Like, MapCon didn't really make a lot of sense because if anybody who was paying attention, the website was actually podcastmidatlantic.com, not midatlanticpodcast.com,
Right.
which, was annoying to some people because, but it was annoying to me because some of the shared links didn't always work out perfectly. But
And the
um
Twitter handle too, right?
yeah. Oh, so there's a funny story about that I don't know. Were you there for that when I mentioned? So
I
I
don't
got
think
our
so.
account banned or blocked on Twitter because I was doing the name swap because I registered the name on a separate account and then I was going to swap the name, swap between the two names. And I'm doing this at like, I don't know, 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning, right before the second day of the conference. And I was like, oh, I can put in a birthday. Well, I mean, it started in 2014. Oh, you're banned. You're not 13 years old. Like, oh, come on, come
Boo.
on. Tim saying iconoclastic. I like Tim's icon, Yukon, we all con together or
Yeah,
something like
Tim.
that.
Iconoclastic. I love it.
Iconoclastic. That is special. Um, so yeah, I think I think I was hesitant for sure the first about moving the conference to a new location, B, a bigger location. I mean, you were saying it's less than a mile to walk between the Hard Rock and there, but like literally the amount of miles that people log just walking around that hotel alone is ridiculous. That's how my knee got messed up. That's why I'm wearing this knee brace on my knee, because at some point I messed my knee up and I've been hurting ever since.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's to the point now where it only hurts when I go up and down stairs. So from what I'm reading online, it's like cartilage is the problem. And the best way to do it is to ice it, rest it, brace it. But now it was like, because I also went to Disney like literally the week after. So I did
Yeah,
like
you
9 miles a day on it. Yeah, so it probably wasn't doing me any favors, but it's okay. It's all right. It's not I was supposed to go to the urgent care last night to get like an X-ray or something of it, and I ran it. I was talking to Larry Roberts. He was interviewing me on his podcast, and I was like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta go to urgent care and get this X-ray, and then like it was like 9 o'clock, and I'm like, I'm not driving over. It's gonna take me like 20 minutes to go over to urgent care. I want to go to bed. So I didn't go. but it's okay. I'll get through it. My knee's been messed up in the past, so I'll get through it.
Yeah, the bigger venue probably didn't do you any favors. That's for sure.
I think I was like bending over or bending down too much or something, and then all the miles that we were logging inside that building did not help.
I think if there was one thing that I said I thought that wasn't optimal. Let's try and be as politically correct as
Oh, you don't
possible
have to be,
here.
no, I want the feedback. That's what I put the
Well,
feedback
here it
thing out
is.
for.
The thing that wasn't optimal, I thought, was not that the place was so big and too big for MapCon. It was the fact that in what was the Swedesboro, after you piled out of the room, there was the bar, right? And there was all the chairs and the lounge and right there in the lobby. So everybody could interact with one another right then and there. For Atlantic City, there was the big hallway, and then there was
Yeah.
a seating area. And it was beautiful, Joe. It was beautiful. All the windows there to look out. But if you didn't have specific meetups, I told the first day, like I got there on Thursday night, didn't see anyone.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't, nobody. And then Friday, I really didn't get out to hang out with anybody until late, until Neil got there. And everybody, there were some folks in the with the cafeteria, there were some folks in the club, there were some folks in the casino. So I think that because it's moved to a bigger place, maybe having specific meetups scheduled to and loosely so, like optional. Hey, some of us are going here, some of us are going here. I don't know if we knew what each other was. I would have loved to hang with you guys. I saw some of the pictures on Facebook. I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have hung out with them there, but I didn't know you were going there.
I honestly didn't know I was going there either.
Right. And that's the other thing too. A lot of it's impromptu, and you have so many choices in a bigger venue. But I think it was great. I loved the place for sure.
I did as well. And I think so. You weren't there last 2018 where we did a mixer at the hotel because, like, in Swedesboro there was, other than going to like the Applebee's for dinner or one of the other, like, few local restaurants, there isn't really a whole lot to do after you eat. So we put a mixer together. Harry Duran was DJing, I was DJing, Mary Nichols was DJing, and I guess I just, for whatever reason, I just decided, it's like, well, we're gonna be in Atlantic City, so like I don't want to hold people captive. But at the end of the day, like we're bringing that mixer back for next year for sure. Where awesome. We have a private bar there, probably some music, whether it's me and or Harry or maybe Dave Jackson brings his guitar finally this year. And other people who want to get in and jam together. Like, I think we're gonna put that back together and make that happen for 2020. Because some of the other feedback I got was like, hey, I came all this way. I want to interact with other podcasters, and part of that is giving that opportunity to do that, even though we're not a nightclub. You're in like one of the nightclub capitals of the world. Only a couple people that I know of went out to any kind of club or any kind of anything. So
the real question
we're going to bring it back.
The real question is, can you do any more? I mean, seriously, I don't think you do enough on those. Just pack some more stuff in there for Joe Pardo to do. Live up to the name, Super Joe Pardo. Come on.
I try. I really, really try every time. And with that said, so one of the things that's happening this year is, not only am I putting together a volunteer team, I'm also putting together. I put together a small group of advisory committee. So this is, thanks for softballing this in, Lou. I appreciate it, buddy. High five. Putting together a small group of advisory uh, committee that allows me to have a sounding board and be able to offload some things. The other big thing is and I said this in my talk. If you listen to my talk from when I talked about the history of MapCon and the future of it, is taking this a lot more seriously the whole year, 365 days rather than like 2 months worth, 2 3 months across the entire year. I mean, right now, right now, in the previous like 5 years or 4 years, I would be doing like literally once I got all the stuff done for MapCon, which I still got to put the vlog together, which it's kind of a thorn in my side right now. I gotta get it knocked out. It I would be doing anything but like what we're doing right now, which is on. Which, by the way, your internet got a lot clearer. So I don't know if I guess people are just going to bed or something, and peak time is starting to come off of it. But your internet got way better. Um,
Awesome.
yeah. So taking it more seriously throughout the year. And really putting the hours in across the year rather than just like the 2 months leading up to MapCon and like a day or two along the way, starting in January. So yeah, so I'm pumped, and I have some other events that we're looking at putting together in 2020 as part of the fact that I'm committing more time and need to make more revenue to justify that time and not putting it towards other things that I got going on. So I'm excited though. Like I can't announce everything yet, but the big thing, the key things is I have a committee together and we're going to be putting together a volunteer thing. So if you're interested in getting in on that volunteer group, or being a part of it, and I personally I don't want to have too many volunteers, not because of the fact that like it's just a lot of people that have to manage, but it's because I'd kind of rather have like outside interns and outside help come in so that the people that are coming for the conference can come and enjoy themselves rather than having to worry about doing something with the conference so much. So if you're interested in being a part of that, you should definitely go and join us in the Facebook group right now when and I'll be announcing in the coming weeks, is the indie, go to indiepodcon.com/group, join up on the Facebook group. We're getting, Lou, since changing the name of the group, literally every day, 1 to 5 people ask to join the group every day. And that doesn't even include people that are inviting other people to the group. That's how we've been able to go from less than 400 people all the way up to I think we're 560 something now, like in just a month. Like we've increased over 150 people in like a month.
And that was your
It's
point.
crazy. Yeah,
That
that
was
was
your
the
point
point.
for,
Like it
yeah.
better represents the people that are actually coming to the event and
Yeah.
attracting the people that we want to come to the event. And I never would have thought that just changing the name would make it that much of a difference. But I guess people are looking for podcasting groups to join and to be a part of. So that's why I'm happy to oblige and put on this weekly show. Which again, if you don't know and you want to be a guest on this show, there you go, softball on it. Helping me out again. You go to indiepodcon.com/guest. The reason that it's so far, I mean, I think we're up to like May of next
Are
year.
you serious?
I think like, or there might be some spots in April at this point. Yeah, so you were really lucky that you were like, I'm not going to sleep on this because
I
it
did. I
got filled
literally
up.
jumped on it. I jumped on
Let's
it as
see.
soon as
I'm
you
in
posted it.
November. I'm in December. I'm in January. I'm in February. I'm in March. Okay, April. There's 2 spots in April, April 8th and 15th. And then in May, there's 3 dates left, the 6th, 13th, and 20th. And the reason is because
Wow.
we're only recording one a week. Oh, man, down the wrong pipe. Oh, excuse me. And it's live streamed here on Facebook, live, and then it's categorized or it's repurposed as a podcast later.
That is fantastic. Wow. I can't believe
Yeah.
that you're well into 2020 with
the
guests.
reason the reason there's a reason why it only goes to the May 27th because I haven't figured out what my summer looks like yet, and I don't want to commit to something that um I can't, come through on. So, and I don't want to have to be moving everybody just when we get to the summer. So once we get closer to like January, I'll start to open up some more spots. But there's so many people asking to be on the show. Like I have even thought about like, well, how do I do it? Can I do 2 a week? Like that seems like a lot to me. Even just not having to do any editing, but just having to put the MP3 together and the post. And I don't do any editing or anything, but it just seems like a lot to me to be able to do. And I don't want to run out of guests because we still have to get to September. so so there's still what is it, June, July, August, and then some of September. So that's like 4 more months that I got to get through to make all that happen. And to go along with that, and I'm curious for people that are watching right now, or even if you're listening to this later, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And Lou, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. One of the things that people really loved leading up to having MapCon and having MapCon grow in the first like 2 years was I used to do weekly podcaster hangouts. So they were called Hangouts because it was in Google Hangouts, where people could just jump in, and it was kind of like an open form mastermind. Come and get your podcast questions answered, and I'm kind of feeling like I want to bring that back. I'm just trying to think of when I want to do that. What night of the week I want to do that. I was kind of thinking after this show. So we get done the show, and then I go into like a separate StreamYard. That's a great name. That's a great name, StreamYard, because I could go into a separate stream and invite people in right after the show's over. So then it's like an open forum. It can host, I think, up to 6 people in here, 10 total, but I think only on screen can be a max of 6. And just like, hey, you want to come hang out and chat about podcasting? Let's like get questions answered and talk about what's going on with our podcast, what's working, what's not working, that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of feeling like this would be a good opportune time where I don't have to eat up another night at 8 o'clock.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you do that, Joe? I mean, that sounds perfect to hold that, because then you can actually bring your guest over into that room and sort of open up the conversation. That's awesome. I think that's a great idea.
Or I don't even bother doing that. I just put the stream link right in the thing, and we just open it up, and then it just becomes one episode rather than me having to like take two. I mean, I guess I could make 2 episodes, but then it just becomes more posts and more featured images I got to put together, and more like
I feel your pain, brother.
Well, you were talking about how great it is to have to market it, and when you were saying that, I'm like, man, it's just so much work though to have to go through all that trouble. So it's a blessing and a curse all at the same time.
Here's another idea for you. You were mentioning about maybe not overcommitting, especially for the summer months. What about guest hosts?
So I did that for 2 years. Amy J took over the show in 2017, I think, or 2015 to 26. No, probably wasn't 7. It was probably 16 to 17, and then 17 to 18. Chi took it over. My guest from last week had the show, and I'm open to it. I'm not against it. I'm not.
Even
I'm
Johnny Carson had guest hosts come in when he wanted to go on vacation. Somebody had to sit behind a big desk.
Yeah, they could have just put a robot there.
That's right.
I am definitely open to that. I think that's not a terrible idea. Like I said, I've done it before. I think that was part of me not committing to be taking the thing, like the whole 365 days of MapCon as seriously, because I was busy, either writing another book or doing other projects and other just a lot of other things. So I think I don't know. I'm open to it. I think doing it after the interview part, I think makes a lot of sense though.
Yeah,
Um, because again, I don't have to commit another night, so I would just have to commit like an extra hour. So it's like 2 hours, eight to 10. But it's one night, and I could probably get away with that and not have to feel bad about it. And if people felt like, oh, this is a lot to listen, like a 2 hour podcast is a lot to listen to about podcasting, I could just chop it up or whatever. But no, there's no rules in podcasting. I'm not doing that.
that's right. No, I think it's a good idea. Open it up, open forum
Well, let's
after the interview.
we yeah. Well, let's finish up the interview, and maybe if some people want to jump in and have a conversation about podcasting, I'll share the link out and they can jump in on the chat. Um, where am I at here? But you know what? Before I get into some of my last questions with you, I just wanted to mention anybody who is still looking to monetize their podcast and are interested in joining a mastermind, online mastermind and retreat, should go to indiepodcon.com/retreat. It's me, Samantha Riley. We've been working with some podcasters already in the online mastermind, getting them set up, getting their branding, getting their messaging, getting their process, everything together so that they could monetize their podcast. It's called Elevate Your Podcast. But really, it's. I think me and Sam actually agreed it should just be called Monetize Your Podcast because that's effectively what it is. Go to indiepodcon.com/retreat. Check it out. Build your own business around your podcast. Lou, what is one thing that really stands out to you about the podcasting community as a whole?
Wow. I think as a group, everyone is so tight knit. So people are willing to not only meet up and talk about what they love to do in podcasting, they're willing to listen to one another's shows and
Mm.
offer feedback. And where in business, and you know business, Joe, where in business can you have another business owner walk into your business and go, I don't know what if I like what you're doing here, or offer you constructive criticism, right? It's
Mm.
dog eat dog normally in the business world. I can do this better than you, and I'm going to make $1 million and you're not. But podcasters, I think, as a group, they're more like what you call them in MapCon, a family, where they're willing to
Mm.
go, you know what? I'll give you constructive criticism, but I'm still going to listen to your podcast. I love it, right? I love listening to what you've created. I think that is what's unique about
Mm.
podcasting.
No, I think that you hit it right on the head, man. That's what I love about it is the fact that there's so many people that you can bring together that they're all have their own niches. They all have their own interested. They all have their own interests. Yes, I should do a 3 hour podcast because I can talk well at 9 o'clock at night. They all have their own interests. They all have their own thing going on. They all have their own audiences, and even the ones that are in the same space are not necessarily competing for the same person because they're looking for the people that identify with them, or vice versa. They're looking to identify with to get with a bunch of people that they identify with themselves, and that's why they're doing it. So I just love the fact that there's such a diverse amount of community or diversity in the community as far as people, not just races and religions and all that stuff, but just the interests and the people that where they're from and what they want to do with it. That I definitely agree with you on that.
And think about it. There's over 7 billion people on this planet. there's nobody who's
Not at 8
competing.
billion yet.
Almost. I mean, we're getting there. We're headed there. Um, so there's
7.5, 3, and
7.5.
that was as of 2017.
Yeah,
So
so we could be nearing that 8 billion mark. So I don't think anybody really should be worried about competing for market share. And the other thing that's unique about podcasters is it doesn't even matter if I like your podcast or not. If I like you as a person, I'm still going to support you in what you do. I might even listen to your podcast, right? Even if I'm not particularly into what the podcast is about, maybe I will get that interest
yeah.
after listening. So I think that it's really unique in as entrepreneurs, as creatives, as business people. It's not. It's very unlike what you see out there in the business world.
Yeah, and it's funny because they, only some of the podcasts see themselves as a business. And even the ones that do, a lot of them are still willing to share and open up their doors and open up their arms to invite others in, to be a part of that, the learning process. So yeah, that part of it, I really do appreciate.
Yeah.
So Lou, before we wrap up here, is there any last thoughts you'd like to give?
I just think that, just springboarding off what we just talked about podcasting and that whole area of that community, I think that as we go forward and we see that these different events pop up, keep going to them, keep meeting other podcasters, keep supporting other podcasters. Uh, there's a podcast out there for you, right? It doesn't matter what you think. It might not be out there. It's probably out there. And if it isn't, there's a huge door right there for you to walk through. So I'd say to anybody who's looking to getting a message out there, or even taking their hobby or interest to the next level, podcasting is the way to go.
I totally agree. Build that authority, build that voice for yourself, and it does. Oh, you know what? Earlier you were talking about performing arts and like getting
Mhm.
out in front of people and performing and like podcasting. Piggybacking off of that. So for anyone who doesn't know, my journey started with a DJ album back in 2014 because I've been DJing since like 2004. My turntables are right over there, and it's if it wasn't for DJing, there is no way that I would have thought podcasting would be for me. And it's not because I like to get on the mic. There's turntables over there for a reason. It's not because I like to talk over the mic. It was because I let the records do the talking for me. And but the point being is that going from being a mostly reserved, shy person growing up to getting out in front of a bunch of people and DJing and do turntablism and that kind of stuff, it helped enable me to be able to do what I do today. Without that, I definitely wouldn't be able to. So endlessly grateful for my fascination with the radio of all places and the nighttime DJs that I used to listen to back in the mid 90s and taping the mixed versions of the music that they would play at the club that you couldn't hear on the radio normally, except at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night on the weekends. So yeah, very grateful for that. Very grateful. But Lou, it's been a blast having you here. I can't an hour. It's already an hour and 8 minutes. It's just flown by. It's
Agreed.
just gone by too quick. So I'm gonna call it here. I'm gonna try to prepare for next weekend or next week to open up the forum after the fact. I'll promote it throughout to get people to come back, and hopefully we'll start on time next week instead of like 5-10 minutes late. And Lou, thanks again for taking the time. If you are interested in a number of things, if you want to get into podcasting or get better at podcasting, you should go to indiepodcon.com/PK and pick up the Podcasters Kit. It has over 50 experts in it with their own courses, including 4 years of MapCon virtual tickets, normally selling for $99 right now on the indiepodcon.com website. Right now, you can get it for $39. Go to indiepodcon.com/PK. It's only available. Oh, and you don't want to sleep on it because it's only available. I should have wrote this in the banner. It's only available until October 11th. So do not sleep on it. You will be very, very disappointed if you do not. Lou is in it, and I'm in it as well because I hosted the conferences in which the videos are taken from. But Lou is in the 2017. I almost said 2017 MapCon virtual ticket. So you definitely want to go check that out. What else we got here? We have the Elevate Your Podcast Mastermind and Retreat. You should go check that out if you want to build your own business around your podcast. indiepodcon.com/retreat. And you should join us September 24th and 26th, 2020 in Atlantic City, New Jersey at the incredible Ocean Resort Casino again this year. If you want to take 10% off of your Icon ticket, use promo code IPP. Yeah, you know me. It's just IPP. indiepodcon.com/register. Use promo code IPP. I think that's a mouthful. And come join us in the group, indiepodcon.com/group. Everybody, I hope you all have an amazing week. Next week, I will try my best to work in the Podcasters Hangout right after the live stream. So not only will it be a longer episode, but you're going to have more voices in it. And again, I hope everybody has an amazing week. Lou, have a great night, sir.
Thanks, Joe.